This is the story of Seo Jun, where he grew stronger by farming and evolving his pets by giving them his special juice, making them thick. Thick. In the previous episode, we saw how everyone worked together to cultivate the land above the ground. Seo Jun had bought peanut seeds for his farm. However, an unexpected turn of events occurred when Ox number 3 discovered Seo Jun's farm, stole all his corn leaves, and made a quick getaway. This act left the mommy bear and the tower manager furious, while Seo Jun and his rabbit buddies were left speechless, as their farm was once again destroyed. Now, Seo Jun, watching his farmland, was in deep thought. He noticed that this time, his land wasn't destroyed. It was just the corn leaves that were missing. Whoever or whatever did this had to be an intelligent creature. While he was fretting over this, Mommy Bear spoke up. She suggested to Seo Jun that it must be the work of the horn bastards. The mention of horns got Seo Jun thinking hard. He remembered hearing a sound like a cow on the blue moon day. If those creatures were behind this, it meant trouble. Seo Jun then had a word with the sad warrior rabbit. He told the little guy not to be down because it was actually a good thing the farm wasn't totally destroyed this time. They just took the corn leaves, and they could always cover the peanut seeds again with the tomato leaves from the cave. Mommy Bear, trying to make Seo Jun feel better, promised to step up her game. She said she'd be more alert from now on, patrol the area more, and even expand her territory. Seo Jun gave her a grateful smile and thanked her for being so solid. But then, giving the baby bear a gentle pat, Seo Jun gave Mommy Bear a friendly warning. He appreciated all her hard work, but didn't want her to overdo it. Health comes first, he said, and Mommy Bear nodded, understanding what he meant. So guys, today's goal is 5,000 likes. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. Now let's continue. Now, with the mommy bear off patrolling, Seo Jun was left feeling concerned. He reflected, let's just be satisfied that no one is hurt. But he knew he needed to prepare for the future. While patting the baby bear, Seo Jun clenched his fist and spoke with confidence. He declared that he had to become powerful to protect himself and everyone from outside dangers. The baby bear looked puzzled, not understanding the gravity of the situation. Meanwhile, the warrior rabbit was ready to face anyone who dared to threaten their farm again. The scene shifted, and we saw the white worker rabbits gently placing corn leaves on top of the beautiful white cocoon of the queen bee. They carefully arranged them in a basket made with onion leaves. Seo Jun expressed his gratitude to the white rabbits for their help, and they waved in response. Seo Jun was seated on a chair made with onion leaves and wood, shading himself with an umbrella made of onion leaves. Beneath him was the basket containing the queen bee's cocoon. Seo Jun gazed at the cocoon with excitement, knowing that today was the day the queen bee would hatch, and he would become her daddy. He planned to spend the entire day beside the cocoon, and had left all the farming work to the farmer rabbits. Seo Jun went on to explain that the system had informed him that when the queen bee's cocoon hatches, the first person she sees would become her daddy. He lounged in his comfy chair, nibbling on some dried sweet potato, and continued. Currently, there were around 200 honeybees in the colony. When the new queen bee hatches, she would establish her own colony, dramatically increasing the total number of honeybees, and he can control them all using his beekeeping skill, adding an extra layer of protection. Beside him, there were some cherry tomatoes and sweet potato flowers displayed. Despite many hours passing, the queen bee had yet to hatch. Seo Jun, feeling drowsy, began to yawn. He held a cherry tomato flower in his right hand and a sweet potato flower in his left. With a warm smile, he thought about offering these flowers as a welcome gift to the new queen bee once she hatched. Then, a curious question crossed his mind. Which of these flowers would the queen bee like more? However, despite his best efforts to stay awake, sleep overcame him. Seo Jun drifted off into a deep slumber, his mouth hanging open, and he began to drool. In his sleep, he mumbled, "I like thick bee." Then, something entirely unexpected occurred. The queen bee's cocoon began to tremble slightly. As moments passed, the shaking intensified, causing a crack to form on the cocoon's surface. From within that crack, a brilliant yellow light began to radiate, growing larger and more vibrant with every passing second. Multiple cracks emerged, creating an intricate pattern on the cocoon's surface. All the while, Seo Jun remained blissfully unaware in his deep slumber. After a relentless struggle, the dazzling light slowly subsided, leaving the entire basket in a gentle tremor. And then, a tiny hand emerged, delicately removing the remaining corn leaves from the basket. Finally, our queen bee had hatched. She was overflowing with joy and excitement, buzzing with life. The newly hatched queen bee inspected her tiny hands and body while receiving a notification from the system, indicating that she was the second generation of queen bee. But then, something else caught her attention. She turned and saw something. Her curiosity piqued, and with a swift push, she took flight with her thick body. Landing gently on Seo-jun's chest, she stretched her body and curiously examined Seo-jun's face with her mouth slightly agape. After gazing at Seo-jun for a moment, the system delivered the crucial notification. The newborn queen bee had officially recognized Seo-jun as her daddy. In response, she gave a warm, contented smile, her buzzing filled with happiness as she attempted to wake Seo-jun up, her newfound daddy. However, Seo-jun remained in a deep slumber, undisturbed by the joyful commotion around him. Then she noticed the cherry tomato flower that Seo-jun had prepared for her. Holding it in her hand, she blushed a little, her eyes sparkling with happiness. From inside the cave, our queen bee buzzed out, startling the new little queen bee. Our queen bee happily greeted her child, and as the new queen bee stared at her, she realized that this majestic bee was her mother. The mother queen bee began to speak, and the new queen bee listened attentively, nodding her head in understanding. Meanwhile, Seo-jun was still sleeping, oblivious to the joyful reunion happening in the cave. It seemed like nothing could wake him up. Mother and child queen bees started to fly, and we saw them joyfully circling around the cave. The baby queen bee followed her mommy closely, and the mother bee couldn't stop smiling as she watched over her child. All the while, Seo-jun remained in peaceful slumber. The baby queen bee finally greeted her mother, and her mother warmly returned the greeting. The baby bee buzzingly flew towards Seo-jun with an excited and happy expression, even though he was still sleeping. She approached Seo-jun's face and began rubbing her cheek against his, her tiny body filled with joy. In response to this unexpected wake-up call, Seo-jun mumbled, "Bee," and slowly woke up. Startled and confused, Seo-jun was met with multiple system notifications. As his sleepiness vanished, he was shocked by what he read. The system notified him that the new queen bee had recognized him as her daddy, and his beekeeping skill had leveled up from 2 to 3. This left Seo-jun both puzzled and intrigued. He desperately looked around, searching for the queen bee, expressing how badly he wanted to see her. The scene then shifted, and we saw that ox number 3 had finally brought the corn leaves and proudly presented them to the Minotaur King. The confused Minotaur King asked where he found them. Ox number 3 explained that he had acquired them from the Crimson Bear's territory, where there was an abandoned area with these leaves. The Minotaur King carefully examined the corn leaves, noting that they looked different from what he had eaten before. These plants were unfamiliar to him, and they appeared too scarce to be shared with others. Then we learned that ox number 3 had eaten all the corn leaves while returning, and he could only manage to bring back a single corn leaf. Hearing this, the Minotaur King was left speechless, his face filled with annoyance and uncertainty about how to react. Now, returning to the present, the Minotaur King held a piece of the green corn leaf in his hand, clenching his fist with a sad expression. He acknowledged that their clan had a big appetite, so it was understandable. Out of curiosity, the Minotaur King decided to take a small bite of the corn leaf, noting its sweet aroma. However, the moment he chewed the corn leaf, an electrifying sensation surged through his body, and a thick white saliva oozed from his mouth. With sparkling eyes and a delighted expression, he exclaimed that it was incredibly delicious, almost divine. He felt an overflow of energy. With great excitement and wide-open eyes, the Minotaur King patted ox number 3 on the shoulder, praising him for his discovery. He expressed that if they could somehow obtain a large supply of this grass, their clan wouldn't suffer from food shortages anymore. If they could cultivate it on their land, all their problems would be solved. However, with a serious expression and a gaze directed to the south, the Minotaur King pondered how this magical grass grew in the Crimson Bear's territory and how they could obtain more of it. Then his expression became sad as he mentioned how badly he wanted to go there and bring back as much of this magical grass as possible. However, he couldn't go to other monsters' territory while leaving the waypoint, as other monsters might attack them, and they were currently weak, so his clan members would not be able to survive. The Minotaur King urgently summoned ox number 3, who arrived in a panic, fearing he would receive a scolding for eating the corn leaves. Ox number 3 intervened. He raised his hand and began to yawn, his eyes closing as he explained that after eating so much grass, he was feeling incredibly sleepy, and he mentioned that he intended to take a nap before proceeding. Hearing this, the Minotaur King swiftly pulled out his great axe and shouted at ox number 3 to hurry and leave, threatening to cut him into pieces, and ox number 3 ran as fast as he could, saying he will sleep when he get back from his mission. The scene then shifted, and we saw that Theo had reached the 38th floor. Dongshik and his companions rushed toward Theo, accompanied by other hunters. The hunters questioned why Theo was late, speculating that he might have gone to another floor to sell his goods. Theo stood proudly and apologized, explaining that he had some important matters to attend to. He hinted that he had brought something special, surprising everyone. Dongshik asked Theo what could be more special than his already exceptional cherry tomatoes. Theo proudly revealed a red cherry tomato, emphasizing that it was even more special than his usual ones, as it's a D-rank cherry tomato. The sight of the D-rank cherry tomato left everyone in shock. Amid the astonishment, the big melon girl couldn't help but express her delight, finding Theo's reaction adorable. Each person held a piece of the D-rank cherry tomato, closely examining it. He discovered that this tomato reduced 20 grams of fat, twice the usual 10 grams, increased mana boost from 0.1 to 0.2, and had a longer shelf life of 60 days. Dongshik, in a state of speechlessness, contemplated the potential impact of this magical cherry tomato once it left the tower. He foresaw that it could cause quite a stir outside. Without further ado, Theo proudly unveiled a bucket made of onion leaves, filled to the brim with D-rank cherry tomatoes. He announced that he would be selling a total of 2,000 cherry tomatoes in batches of 400, with 5 rounds in total. As soon as he finished speaking, the hunters began bidding fervently. The initial bid of 70 quickly escalated to 90 and beyond. After an intense hour, the auction concluded, and Theo had successfully sold all his cherry tomatoes. Holding bags filled with tower coins, he chuckled with flushed cheeks. He declared that with this trade, his profits would exceed 1,000 tower coins. Moreover, it would enable him to register as a high-grade wandering merchant. Standing proudly, Theo held his head high and laughed heartily. He stated that once he achieved the status of a high-grade wandering merchant, all restrictions would be lifted. He looked forward to the day when Seo Jun's crops would be mentioned in the system notifications as desired by Seo Jun himself. He even jestingly contemplated that Seo Jun might confer upon him the title of chairman, granting him the authority to command Seo Jun. As Theo was lost in his daydreams, the big melon girl approached him and asked if he wanted to take a picture with her. Theo, with a hint of arrogance, thought to himself that he must be so famous that everyone wants to be around him as soon as they spot him. He opened his eyes with a flourish, proudly extending his paw. He confidently declared that anyone who wanted to touch his paws should form a line and be prepared with a suitable reward. However, before he could finish his sentence, he realized that only the big melon girl stood before him. She wore an awkward expression, and behind her, there was nothing but the wind-blown leaf. Perplexed, Theo started searching for the crowd, wondering where his adoring fans were. The big melon girl explained that because Theo hadn't been on the 38th floor for days and their food supplies were running low, most of the residents had left. Only a few remained. Hearing this, Theo was shocked, his mouth hanging open. He felt a pang of hurt pride because it seemed that no one wanted to touch his paws anymore. To console him, the big melon girl offered Theo some churros, explaining that it wasn't that he was unpopular. People had left due to the shortage of supply. Theo, with an innocent and sad expression, gazed at his paws, wondering if they no longer had the power to attract people. He had hoped to receive many things from humans in exchange for letting them touch his paws, which would have boosted his chances of becoming a chairman. But now, it seemed like that might not happen. Just then, 2 girls approached Theo, excitedly exclaiming that he was Theo, the wandering cat. They came closer, stating that Theo was just as cute as they had seen on Instagram. They asked if they could also take pictures with him. Now Theo was utterly confused, asking the 2 girls what this Instagram thing was all about. With enthusiasm, the girls eagerly showed their phone screens to Theo and began explaining everything about smartphones and Instagram. As they went on, Theo's eyes sparkled with great excitement. He suddenly got a brilliant idea. With that, the episode came to an end. So if you've been watching up to this point, give a green heart in the comments. Goodbye.